also want to make it clear too that through uploading this video today, my hope and my expectations are not to, press post and then forget about it and move on and wash my hands as if nothing happened.
It's 2023, and James Charles has apparently still not gotten the memo that tricking straight men into getting into a relationship with him is unacceptable. Stay tuned throughout the end of this video because the text messages that we're about to get into are really cringe on James Charles's end, and he's getting called out big time for it. So it honestly seems like it's a whole tradition for James Charles to get exposed every 6 months by another man on TikTok, and that's exactly what ended up happening last night, but over on Twitter. If you guys have been on Twitter over the last 24 hours, then you probably would know that James Charles was trending. And we all know that when James Charles is trending on Twitter, it's 99% of the time not for a good reason. By now, we all know the repetitive pattern of James Charles getting exposed by straight men on TikTok coming forward about their horrible experiences with James Charles. Some claiming that James Charles is being inappropriate with them over on apps like Snapchat and Instagram DMs, and some even claiming that they've received unsolicited, inappropriate photos by James Charles. After a few guys in the past have come forward about this, sharing their receipts, and this whole situation going viral on social media over the last couple of years, James Charles did end up coming out with a taking accountability video where he kinda admitted that he was just desperate.
I'm desperate.
If you guys remember, he even said verbatim himself in his taking accountability video that he kind of let the idea of desperately wanting to be in a relationship kind of just take over him and not take into account the red flags and unacceptable behavior he was embracing with these boys he was talking to.
The idea of actually being in a relationship became so important to me that I was willing to trust too quickly, miss out on red flags, and most importantly, not take the precautionary measures that really anybody, but especially somebody with a public platform, should be taking before talking to anybody. And
James even reiterated that there was no excuse for what he did.
There's no excuse for that. At this point, it does feel normal, but I have to understand that to 99.9% of people, it's not normal and will never be normal. And that's where the power imbalance lies that I wasn't understanding. But I'm so glad that I finally do.
It seems hypocritical now that this video of him just got leaked over on TikTok with a new guy coming forward about him, and the way this guy claims he's texted him that got exposed, it truly just seems like James hasn't changed, nor learned his lesson, and it honestly is just sad and ridiculous at this point. Like, I've honestly never seen any other influencer out there with such a public platform risk their entire image just to be in a relationship with someone. And the measures James is taking for this whole relationship thing is just crazy, because apparently he has job requirements that you have to abide by to be his boyfriend. Yeah, it's gotten that serious. Now, this video on TikTok that a username by the name of Stockton, whose real name is apparently David, which is what James Charles's Instagram account had apparently called him in these DMs, made a TikTok video, and since this video, it's gotten over 2 million views. Now, these texts that were being shared in Instagram DMs, and they were in vanish mode, which basically means they disappear after you see them. And I wonder why James Charles decided to text this guy in vanish mode. He probably didn't want to get exposed, but this guy came with a second phone on deck and he took screenshots of everything, you guys. The Twitter thread that went viral read, "James Charles is back at flirting and making straight men uncomfortable. The alleged screenshots reveal the benefits of being his boyfriend." In one text, James says it's a really lucrative role. James used Instagram's vanish mode to attempt to prevent a leak. It continues, James attempts to convince David to FaceTime him. David also alleges that James sent him 2 illicit photos after David declined to send a selfie to James. James messages David on TikTok to check him, thank God he at least asked for this guy's age, even though we don't know if he just went by what the guy said, because you never know, some guys can just say they're older but actually be underage, or maybe James ended up asking for this guy's ID or driver license. We don't know that, but these screenshots show James Charles apparently asking for this guy's age and then proceeding to follow him. Continuing on, the thread reads, David has a text conversation with a friend saying what similar articles about his past with guys are what is happening to him. The friend says he doesn't stop, and their DMs read, the message from him at the top, straight to hell. It's funny, everything I read about the article is all stuff he said. He doesn't stop. Yeah, he messaged me, damn, well, have a good night then, David. Imagine you sent him the article. Now, this next video that we have to dive into honestly just makes James Charles look really sad. The thread points out that in this video, James Charles apparently knew that the guy he was talking to was straight. It says, James knew he was straight in his vanish video he sent to David, attempting to make David feel wrong for saying no to a FaceTime or meeting in person. And in this video, it shows James Charles kind of explaining why it's important to FaceTime in relationships, because the tone is just more apparent when you actually see someone face to face, because you can see their facial expressions and everything. And to me, it kind of just seems like a manipulation tactic for James Charles to just have his way and get his goal, which is probably to be FaceTiming this guy. I mean, watching this video just gives me secondhand embarrassment, and it's just really cringy and sad.
So if I be like, oh my god, David, you're annoying, over text, right? You don't know if I'm saying like, oh my god, David, you're being annoying. Or like, oh my god, David, you're being annoying. Or like, oh my god, David, you're being fucking annoying. Because all three of those are completely different, like, emotions that you cannot see through text. You only get to actually experience those through a FaceTime call or through being in person. Even over the phone, you still miss out on things because you're missing somebody's facial expressions, right? So because you refuse to hang out with people or because you refuse to FaceTime, you're not allowing people to actually get to know you as like a human being. And that's a massive, massive problem whenever it comes to being in a relationship with somebody. You cannot fall in love with somebody simply just from text.
Like, the measures you are going just to get a FaceTime with a guy, yikes. James is getting allegedly jealous over the girl that David follows on Instagram. Now, if you take a look over on David's Instagram, he is now unfollowing everyone, and apparently he was only following 2 people according to these text messages. And before, I'm assuming that he was following 2 people, one being James Charles and the second being another girl, which we will get into in these text messages, where James Charles allegedly asks, also, who's Erin Aponte? Ha ha ha. Which is apparently the girl that David was following, saying, so honored to be 1 out of 2 people you follow. David goes, ha ha ha, she is a girl I'm texting. I find it hard to find people that are actually interesting to talk to. Wow, my competition, eh? I'm cuter. LOL, you guys are both great. Ouch. I only met her yesterday through a dating app. Oh my god, and you already follow her? Bro. And then it says, go yourself, David. As I mentioned, this whole thing is just honestly so sad, and the fact that this is still continuing and James still has supporters throughout all of this is mildly frustrating. Now, James Charles hasn't spoken out about this yet, and honestly, I doubt that he will, because he's kind of been shading / making subtle responses by liking these tweets over on Twitter ever since this thread came out on Twitter. And some of the tweets that he's been liking are tweets that are in favor of him and kind of insinuating that he's not the one at fault here, and that men are just kind of using him to make these type of situations go viral and make James Charles, quote unquote, look bad. Some of the tweets he's been liking are, you know good and goddamn well these straight men are leading him on so they can get a hit tweet / viral post. 7 tweets, all to say that he pursued someone who showed basically every single sign of romantic reciprocation. At this point, this just stinks of. He even liked this tweet where someone suggested him to kind of get someone that's a professional matchmaker, and they were actually being genuine about it. And who knows if James Charles will actually take this advice into account, but this does seem like a professional type of advice that James Charles actually ended up liking, saying, at James Charles, this is an earnest, good faith suggestion. Please hire a professional matchmaker. There are ones for high-earning individuals that are too busy to meet people and don't need clout. I know you want love in your life. Make a small investment towards forward finding it. Anyways, guys, I definitely want to know what you think about this situation and the saga of James Charles getting exposed repeatedly for his behavior. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I love you guys so much, and as always, I'll see y'all in the next video.